briefly introduce our guest speaker today. And our guest speaker today is Sam. Sam is actually a graduate of University of Toronto. His major is actually information programs. So actually his focus area is design thinking. Okay, and before that, he actually is the program coordinator, the organizer of one of the incubator program in UofT. And he has actually helping many groups, many students in growing their ideas into $1 million startups. Sam has a lot of experience, not just as a teacher, as a coach, excellent coach actually, but also as a US Marine. He has been a founder himself. So, okay, without further ado, let me give this room to Sam. Okay, Sam, this room is yours now.
All right, hi everybody. Give me 1 second here. Now, for most of this workshop, we are going to have our screens off. But for the first 2 seconds, could I get everybody to just turn their screen on real quick and give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? I'm really looking for a thumbs up to make sure that we can hear each other, and then you can turn your screen back on. Cool? There we go. I see a couple thumbs up. All right, we're looking good. I'm going to share my screen now. All right, play from start. There we go. All right, here we go. So the way this is gonna go is I'm gonna talk and then there's gonna be some time for you guys to kind of be able to put some stuff on. And you'll notice that the screen is green behind me because for some reason today it decided to make me look like an alien when I put on my cool background. So I will work on that for next class. But what we're gonna be talking about today is design thinking. And design thinking is a topic that not everybody has heard of before. So what we're going to do is we're going to break it down really simply, and we're going to go through some basic steps. And what we're really going to be looking at is why we do design thinking and why we're going to be looking at design thinking for the future. So the first thing that we're going to kind of look at is a little bit of why now. Right? We're in grade 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, just graduated university, graduated my master's. And the big thing is because Harvard, which is one of the first schools that said that, you know, they're going to jump in on design thinking in their business school, is that to become a master in design thinking, it takes 20 years, right? And those who master it have a massive competitive advantage in research, in business, in technology, and in medicine. So pretty much every industry, they're saying there's a big advantage if you understand design thinking. And we can actually start it right with where we're at right now. So the big thing that we're gonna go over today is we're gonna go over a few key points. Now the first one, we're gonna start with the intros, and that's kind of what we've already started, right? So we're gonna talk about the topics, the teacher, get to know each other a little bit. A big part of this workshop is going to also be doing workshops. So I've got a mini workshop planned for today, and hopefully you got the email, but I'm gonna let you know now. You're gonna need 2 pieces of paper and 1 pen for each person that's on your team. Okay, so that's 2 pieces of paper and 1 pen. Okay, so that way we can kind of make sure we're all on the same page for the workshop. And then we're gonna discuss results and feedback. Now this one is gonna depend a little bit on time because there's a lot of us on here. So in order for us to be able to do that, we're gonna have to make sure that there's enough time. So we're gonna see how that goes a little bit, but a big part of this course and this curriculum that we're going to be going through is learning about presenting and reflecting on what we've learned. Okay, reflecting is one of the biggest things that we miss out on learning. And when we reflect and talk about what we've learned, it gives us the opportunity to learn it deeper. So we're gonna make sure that we do that every class. And another thing that we're gonna talk about today is design thinking and you. Where does this fit in with where you're at right now, getting ready to go back to school, or maybe even for mom and dad, how it fits into their workplace. And we're also going to talk about how design thinking fits into the world. And I've got a really cool map that I'm looking forward to showing you. Okay, so we're going to do that at the end. So here's kind of the idea. I'm all about having questions come up at any time. A little bit because I'm sharing my screen, I don't get to see your messages pop up. So if you have any messages, put them in the chat, and Scott and Ming will be able to let me know, and we'll go that way. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to everybody. We're going to go at a pace that hopefully everybody can keep up with, so I want to keep that in mind. But just if you have any questions, just feel free to like ask those out, okay? See a couple notes here, okay? All right. So the first thing that we're doing is going to be some get set intros. Now, I've made this little note to tell me a little bit about you, and I'm going to be getting your results on my phone. So it's into either your phone or your computer. I want you to type in bit.ly/DT team name. Okay, so that's bit.ly/DT team name. And I'm going to do that too to make sure that I can see it. Yep, I got it on my phone. Did everybody else get it on their phone? Okay, I see that a couple people are on there. So this is set up for, you can put in the student's name at the beginning, okay? I know that there's a couple brother-sister teams out there or sibling teams, so there's places for 2 names. And then I want you to put your team name, okay? I want each group, each computer, each home to have a team name. And then what you're gonna do is you are gonna figure out what the average age of your team is. Okay, so you're gonna add everybody up and divide it, and we're gonna kind of see what the average team name is and go from there. Okay, and while you do that, I am going to tell you a little bit about me, because I think that's only fair.
So how like,
go for it.
what's our team?
Good question. Your team is, today, it's all of the people that are on your computer. So if you're by yourself, it's you. If it's you with mom or dad, it's that way. If it's you with a friend, anything like that, whoever is with you in the same room is your team today.
Oh, it's me.
Awesome. What's your name? Oh, she's gone. Okay, so that's what you're going to put in. I see that we've already had 3 people fill it out. Very cool. So now I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. So because I said there was 4 questions on your quiz, I'm going to tell you 4 things about me today, okay? So I've started 2 companies, and both of them have to do with media and entertainment. So the first one was Every Eye Media, and we did digital media and marketing. And the second one was a ticketing company where we helped manage ticketing. Real quick, if you've got your mic turned on, we can just mute it for this part and we'll turn it on again later. So you can just check to make sure your mic's on mute. So I started 2 companies, and both of them ended up making about between $2 and $4 million a year, and I sold them in 2015. So for me, the cool news is I'm on a 5-year non-compete. It means I'm not allowed to start a concert company for 5 years. Well, my non-compete ends in 2020, and you're not allowed to have any concerts in 2020. So I'm kind of getting 1 year for free. So that's kind of fun. So I really like helping companies get started, because I started a couple companies. Now, my second one is that I was in the US Marines. And this is a picture of me and some of my friends. And I actually started a business when I was in the Marines. And we'll talk about that a bit in another class. But I got to deploy all over the world. It was a really cool experience. I got to work with lots of different people. I got meritoriously promoted twice. I was kind of good at my job, and that was a lot of fun. Not something I would probably do again, because the world's a crazy place. But when I was 20, it was kind of cool. The other thing I like to say is that I'm a little bit competitive. And so this is a picture of me at the World Championships in 2013. And I've been to the World Championships 7 times. 4 times for Team USA and 3 times for Team Canada. I was actually born in Canada. My dad is from the States and my mom is from Mexico. So there's actually a rule at the Olympics that lets you race wherever your parents are born. So I've missed the Olympic qualifiers twice. I got on a couple of World Championship teams, but that was always kind of fun, so I love racing bikes. And this last picture here is UofT life. So I started going to university in San Diego, and then from there, I actually ended up going to university in Toronto because I started my company in the middle. So it was kind of fun to kind of start in the States, end up in Canada, and now I teach at U of T. I teach about 500 students a year, things just like we're going to be looking at now. We're going to look at it a little differently, but this whole information design thinking, I actually get to spend a lot of time on it. And so I hope that you get to enjoy it and find out so we can learn some things. All right, let's look at some of these results. The flash screen isn't working, but it's awesome to see some names. So I want to ask, what do you think the average age of our teams are? Any ideas? What do you think the average age is? There's one team that says their average age is 300. I think that means you have all your grandparents in the room. So, but right now it looks like the average age is about 27. So out of 15 teams, the average age is 27. So that's kind of cool. So that'll actually help us out a lot when we get to our activity. All right, let's talk a little bit about this design thinking thing. Now, I'm gonna assume that people haven't heard of it before. And this is not the normal design thinking graph. Usually it's like a bunch of pyramid or a bunch of parallelograms kind of put together all over the place. I like this one because if you notice, it's an infinity symbol because design thinking doesn't end. It's not like you go from step 1 to step 5 and don't start over. If you have an idea, if you start a company, you're kind of constantly going through it. And that's what this design shows. And that's why I like to use this one. So the first part of design thinking, and I'm going to talk about each of them just for a few seconds, is empathy. And what happens with empathy is that you learn to recognize other people's perspectives and understand where other people are coming from. And this is one of the reasons that looking at that average age on your group is so important, because it gives you the opportunity to see when we get to the activity that everybody is going to see something different, right? And that's just because of where you are in life. So this is one of the important things. Design thinking is about problem solving. And so it's important to understand where different people are coming from when you look at problems. Now, this is where we're going to spend a big chunk of time, and that is on defining the problem and ideating the problem. These two kind of orangish ones. Now, when you look at defining, that's figuring the problem out. Now, here's a question for all of you that are in school or have ever been to school. How many of you have ever said, I didn't understand the question, or I answered too fast and didn't understand properly? Right? Take a sec to think about that one. I see a couple hands raised there. That's cool. I have a class where I have 227 second years. And the feedback is always, I would have done better on the final exam if I'd have read the questions more carefully. So we actually spend a lot of time in my class talking about how to read and understand questions. I work with a grade 9 group at Loyola Catholic High School in Mississauga. And that's a big thing that we talk about, right? Is you can see a 15% grade difference just by understanding and answering the question properly. And that's where defining the problem is so important, to understand the problem that you're trying to answer. And then we flip over to ideating, and that's where you begin to find the solution. Now, because of where we are in life, we're not gonna focus a ton on the solutions. We're gonna learn about them, but we really wanna focus on this understanding problems and answering them so we can really understand those 2 steps and how we can grow in that. Because remember that thing that Harvard said, it's 20 years to master this. So we're gonna work kind of on these middle ones now to get that intro. Okay, so the next one down kind of at the bottom, you see that gear. That in the pen, that's prototyping. And that's about creating and experimenting based on the ideas you made. This is basically to save businesses from wasting a ton of money, right? So I said that I had 2 companies. One was a ticketing company. We had the idea of starting our own ticketing company. And it cost us about $100,000 to make the final product, but we made 3 prototypes that cost about $5,000 each. If we'd have spent the whole $100,000 on that first idea, half of it would have been a waste. And we'd have wasted $50,000, which is more than I was making in a year at the time, right? So it's really important that we work out those ideas in what's called an iterative process. So we do one step at a time. Then we get to the big leagues and we test those ideas. And that's a little bit of refining the product that we worked on. So we do some ideation, come up with the ideas. Then we work on the prototype, which are basically examples. Then we jump into testing to see if they work. Now, this is a flow chart of what we're going to be looking at and how we're going to really focus on each of those parts. So the bold part is where we're going to spend a good chunk of time. Now, this is the empathize and define. We're going to put those together a little bit. Okay, and we're going to work on understanding problems and learning to ask questions. A big chunk of time is going to be spent on brainstorming. How many people have been in a group at school where you're supposed to brainstorm and it ends up being a massive waste of time because everybody just kind of talks over everybody and there's ideas, but nobody knows what to do with them, right? We're going to work a little bit on this every week or every class, and I am going to make you professional brainstormers, okay? We are going to rock this brainstorming thing so that way when you're in a brainstorming situation, you can be a leader and be like, hey, I have an idea of how we can find the best idea. Then we're going to work on ideating, and we're going to talk about how to pick the best idea and how to come up with ideas. That's going to be part of the flow. Okay, we're going to learn about mock-ups, prototypes, tests, also referred to if you're writing a paper as rough drafts. Okay, I know a lot of people don't do rough drafts anymore. I know my students don't do rough drafts anymore, and I can tell. Okay, so we're going to work on how a rough draft actually can help increase your grade. Then, something we're also going to do every week is that green arrow. We're going to work on presenting and storytelling. Now, let me tell you about storytelling. Sometimes storytelling is seen as a lost art, but the other part is that storytelling is how you sell your idea. How do you get your teacher to think that your answer is right? How do you get your boss to give you a raise? How do you work on the story that frames your idea as being something that's worth somebody else buying? These are all storytelling examples we're going to look at. You can think of it as sales, as presentations, but this is a life skill, okay? Not going to lie. I'm really good at this. I had somebody pay me $10,000 to talk for 15 minutes, and out of that 15-minute conversation, they got an investment of $10 million. This storytelling is key. And if you can start learning to be a good storyteller now, by the time you're in university, by the time you're in the job force, it's going to be awesome. You can trust me on that one, okay? So we're going to work on those things together, and it's going to be kind of cool. All right, so now, come on, next. Oh, we're going to decline that. Not quite sure what that one was. Now it's going backwards. All right, course objectives. We've got 3 things. That's kind of like we just did the big overview. Now here's 3 more specific ones. We're going to introduce design thinking. Okay, you're going to gain some knowledge about what it's all about, and you're going to learn about how to use those different components. Simple. We're going to develop a baseline. Okay. Number 2, we're going to work on developing professional innovation skills. Okay, we're going to understand how to look at challenges and problems and how to grow with that. Then we're going to put those pieces together and we're going to begin building a leadership portfolio. Okay, these are going to be some of the things that we do in teams, some of the things that we do on our own, and we're going to put these together in mini presentations every week, and then we're going to go forward with those kind of at the end. Okay, so this is what the whole class kind of looks like. You might want to take a screenshot of this one. Okay, we're going to break this into 8 different kind of pieces throughout kind of our time together. And this is kind of the overview of how we can really break it all down. Okay, so the ones that we're going to look at is we're going to look at investigating design thinking.
Superhero problems.
What's that? We're going to look at investigating design thinking. We're going to learn to connect, and then we're going to James Bond your problem. Okay, that's kind of looking at it from James Bond perspective, who's a super spy. Okay, we're going to look at solution build. Oh, solving superhero problems. That's going to be our activity for the week, and that one's kind of cool. We're going to do solution building. So we're going to talk about ideas, and then we're going to talk about coming up with solutions for those ideas. Then we're going to look at prototyping ideas. Why prototype? What does it look like? What are different types of prototypes that we can use? Then we're going to talk about storytelling. Okay, remember how we just talked about that one? So we're going to talk about how to tell a story to convince someone. We're going to talk about paying for problems. Okay, don't solve somebody else's problem for free. This is where we're going to look a little bit at entrepreneurship and design services and how we can go forward using this skill that we got to make some money. Okay, then we're in one of our last classes, we're going to connect the pieces together. We're going to do a final team project and presentation, and then you're going to get a cool certificate and portfolio, and that's going to kind of be the wrap up. Okay, so I want to take a quick pause here and ask if anybody has any questions on that first part. Yes, no, maybe? All right, well, let's jump into the activity then, okay? So this is the intro to a design thinking activity, and this is called Turn on Your Brain, okay? And it's an intro to brainstorming. So I'm gonna give you a couple seconds here, and I wanna make sure that you have 2 pieces of paper and 1 pen for each person, and I want you to make sure that you can draw a circle, a square, and a triangle. And I put some examples there so that we remember which ones are which. All right, can I get you to click the raise hand button once you have everything that you need? 2 pieces of paper, 1 pen. All right, thank you, Abby. Harry, got a couple more. All right, now, here's the deal. We're gonna do some things kind of fast. So I'm gonna give you time limits. You might have 20 seconds, you might have a minute, you might have 2 minutes, okay? And the first one's kind of a quick one. So for this one, you need 1 piece of paper and 1 pen. And we are going to use both sides of the paper, so please make sure that you use one side of the paper. Now, when I say go, you are going to have 30 seconds to write down 20 words, okay? You are going to write down the first words that come into your head. I don't care what they are. I'm not gonna see them. I'm not gonna ask you what they are. You'll show your neighbor, but I'm not gonna see them. So I want you to write fast. We're gonna start in 5, 4, 3, 2, go. You've got 30 seconds, write down 20 words. Any language, as long as you understand. Go, go, go. 15 seconds down, already halfway done. Ten seconds left. Doesn't matter what the word is, get them down, get them down. 5, 4, 3, 2, pen down, pen down. All right, how many people got to 20 words? Raise a hand if you got to 20 words. All right, I see 1. There's a couple others, Jerry, Abby. All right, here's the deal. It's not about getting to 20 words. See how this one is called brainstorm? This first part is kind of brain drain. It's getting those things out of your head that are top of mind, and we're gonna talk about those in a couple minutes, okay? Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on to step 2, And with your partner, I want you to put a circle by all of the words that you have that are the same. Okay, so we're gonna take 1 minute to do this. And I want you to talk to your partner. If you're by yourself, you're a little stuck on this one. But I want you to put a circle by all the words that are the same as your partner. Okay, here you go. So you're gonna show each other your papers and you're gonna look if you have any words the same. All right, and as you're looking if you have any words the same, if they're not exactly the same, look for common themes, okay? I teach a class that's from 11 p.m. to 1 p.m. What do you think the most common thing that people think about or write down between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. is? Yeah, lunch. They write about Subway, which is right outside our classroom. Some people write Tim Hortons. We just finished dinner. Sometimes the word you write down is what you had for supper. Okay, so what we use this for is to look at kind of what's on the top of our mind. Okay, so now I want you to grab your second piece of paper, and what we're going to do is we're going to watch a video, and I want you to write down all of the problems that you see. Okay, it's a 1 minute video, it's 45 seconds, and I want you to write down every problem that you see. Then what it's called is we're going to connect with our bias. It means we're going to talk to our group. And remember how we looked at that different age type things? So we're going to see if people that are different ages saw different problems in the same thing. That is called empathy, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to pick our number one biggest problem, and we're going to share what we think that is in the chat. Okay, so you're going to type what you think the biggest problem is in the chat. No wrong answers because it's what you see. Okay, so I want you to have your second piece of paper ready. I want you to have a pen, and you're going to write down every problem you see in this video. Is everybody ready? All right, here we go.
Mobile payments are changing the daily life of every consumer. Carta is leading the way with the world's most technologically advanced cloud and secure element NFC solution. Our digital transaction platform makes mobile commerce as easy as downloading an app. Carta's easily integrated solutions deliver unparalleled security and stability for HCE and SE-based mobile payments. Tokenized and encrypted data is protected by advanced layers of security in the cloud and on the device, allowing Carta to securely manage credentials for EMV-level transactions online or in store. Carta has made this a reality. It's here today.
All right, I'm not gonna lie. They probably said a lot of words in that video you might not have understood, but there were 7 different problems in that video, okay? The reason I use this video is I actually worked a little bit with this company. I'll tell you about this another day, but they used this video to sign a $20 million customer because they could solve one very specific problem. But they used a video that has a bunch of problems to focus on a big one. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take just a few more seconds to write down all of the problems that we saw. Okay? Now that we've written down the problems on that piece of paper, you gotta go kind of fast because it's short. That part is called heads down. Okay, we did a little bit by ourselves. We wrote down the questions. Now what we're going to do with the person we're with, we're going to cut this down to 2 minutes instead of 3, but we are going to compare the problems that our partner saw. Okay, and we are going to put a circle by the ones that match, a square by the ones that only you had, and we're going to put a triangle if there are any words that match your first piece of paper. For example, if you wrote down sleep, right, as one of your words, you could maybe compare that to alarm clock and put a triangle. Or if one of the words you thought of was toys and you wrote down messy toys from the video, you could put a triangle by that one. Does anybody have any questions on that? Now, when we do this in our actual workshops, we're going to do this in breakout groups, and I'll be able to come and visit each of you. But because we have so many different groups this week, it's a little tough. So we're going to do it with the people that we're in the room with, but I'm going to give you 1 minute to do that right now. Okay, so I want you to compare. I'm going to leave this slide on the board so that you can kind of check that out.
Hi, Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have, quite a lot of people here. Would you mind give them one example, what kind of problem they should be looking for?
Yeah, one of the problems that happens in that video, for example, okay, you know what? We'll actually show the video again.
Okay.
One of the problems could be that there are toys on the stairs, right? He almost tripped over it. That's a problem. We see that he needed his phone to be the alarm clock to wake him up. He needed something to wake him up. That could be considered a problem. Okay, so I want you to look, it's called a problem perspective. And so I want you to look at everything to try to see the problem. Should we watch the video again? Let's give it one more time. It's only 45 seconds.
Hi, Sam.
Mobile payments are changing the
Go for it.
daily life of every consumer.
Wait, there.
Sorry, probably a little bit confused. So when you're talking about finding a problems, you're asking students to think themselves as one of the character in this particular scene and to see what are the problem you as a character in this scene faces. Is that right?
Yeah, like that.
Okay.
Does that make sense to everybody? What we'll do, you know what, we'll do this one together. I'll mute the video in the beginning so that I can kind of show you. Problem 1, alarm clock. Problem 2, toys on the stairs. Problem 3, what just happened? Okay, oh, look, that's the big problem. Now we're looking at him. The problem here could kind of be that he needs to buy coffee, but he doesn't have his wallet. So he orders his coffee and he pays with his wallet that's on his phone, okay? So all of those different things, different people see different problems. Generally, moms and dads are gonna see that the dude needed his coffee, right? That's gonna be a problem. Generally, other people see that he needed his phone to wake up. So we have all these different problems that we can look at. And when we do this together next week as part of our class, this is kind of similar to the superhero solutions video we're gonna watch. We're gonna watch a Marvel movie clip and we're gonna look at what problems the superheroes have to solve. But today we kind of look at this normal dude that forgot his wallet. And what happens is when we put the circles, the squares, and the triangles, we see what we see, right? A lot of times, I mean, I'm drinking my water here. I would see like the guy wanted a drink. One of the words that I wrote down was water, right? Kind of similar to the guy needing to get coffee. And so we see how our perspective, we put our perspective onto the character that we see in the film. And that's why we write those words down on that first piece of paper. That brings up kind of what's in our head, top of mind. From there, we look at the circles to see what match our partner, because sometimes we'll see the same things because we have shared experience. If we watched a video where somebody was having supper, for example, and we wrote down dinner because we just ate, we might all have that in common. So that's kind of what we're looking at in an activity like this to put it all together. Give me 1 second. My screen seems to have frozen. All right, so did anybody happen to have the same things as their partner? Did anybody kind of see the same things? I got one hand raised. That's cool. For some reason, my computer's frozen, so I'm just gonna go through some of these other ones, okay? So that was a little bit of a harder look since we didn't get to all understand the video off the hop, but that's okay. It really is just designed to show us how to look at problems, okay? Oh, now it's coming back too fast. Hello, video, be my friend. Let's jump to this one. All right, so now on the back of your first piece of paper, we are going to do a mini presentation. So I want you to write your team name, okay? And I want you to write down what you thought the biggest problem in that video was, okay? Write down what you thought the biggest problem was. And then I want you to write down how many circles and how many squares you had. And you might have had none, totally okay. Okay, to make it a little bit easier, we can just write down one problem that we saw with our team name and how many circles or triangles you had. And for this part, what I want you to do is turn on your video and show your paper. Okay, I want you to turn on your video and show your paper. All right, I see a couple videos coming on. Oh, there we go. I got you. One triangle and one square. And the red light was the problem that you saw. Cool. All right, everybody. Can we get a couple more of those videos? Oh, there we go. Messy toys. Yep, totally. That was totally one. Good job. That was a good find. Dang, there's so many. Nice work. Okay, I see you. Good job, dude. Thanks, Jerry. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're going to jump back to the slides here, and I wanna just kind of wrap up what a couple of these ideas are about, okay? Slide here. So what design thinking kind of helps you do is it helps you elevate your answers. It gives you this new perspective of thinking that helps you in any situation, okay? And so when we look at this biggest problem, it's the biggest problem for who? That's a question we always have to ask when we are defining a problem and showing empathy. Is the problem for the man? Well, he forgot his cell phone. Is the problem for the coffee shop? The coffee shop has to have a way to take the man's money when he doesn't have his physical wallet there, right? So we learn to look from these different perspectives by using design thinking. And I know it was really hard to fit it all into 10 minutes, but that's kind of the level that we're gonna break it down with, okay? Then another thing is to dig deeper and take the time to examine options. today was very fast, but we're going to learn to break down and evaluate options. Okay? And we're going to look at trying out some ideas. Maybe if we were looking from the perspective of the coffee shop and we saw the problem of somebody that forgot their wallet, we'd want to look at how to take their money, right? Or if we look at the problem of the guy has toys all over the floor, maybe we come up with a service where a nanny or a cleaning person comes over before bedtime to help clean everything up so it's clean the next day, right? These are simple everyday ideas that we can just spend some time looking at. And then there's present and reflect. So we kind of try to say these things out loud so that we can see how these answers would work in real life. Now, this is the coolest thing I'm going to show you today. So I really want you to pay attention. Design thinking isn't just about coming up with good ideas. It's about being a global leader. And it starts today and maybe even yesterday, because it's one of those tools that we can always use. And I want to show you this map. Okay, check this out. This is a map of the world. Hello. And this is what shows you where design thinking is taught in grades K to 12 in the world. Okay, so we're going to zoom in on this a little bit. So we see some over here in Asia and Europe, but we see a lot of it over here in North America, right? Now I want you to pay attention as we do the zoom on the ocean apparently. Check this out. We live right here. There's one school that teaches design thinking in grades K to 12. And you know where that is? It's one of the programs I work with at Rotman, which is the business school at University of Toronto. And what they do is they have a program that's similar to what we're gonna do that works with students in grades K to 12 to help them learn design thinking because they want future business managers to learn design thinking. We've also got some over here in New York in the financial sector and some in Boston. And you may not know this, but Boston has some of the, and Chicago have some of the most schools per capita in the world that focus on problem solving in the medical field, right? Now, if we really want to see this go nuts, we have to look over here in Silicon Valley. Look at how tight all of those dots are, right? I used to live down here, but I started my company up here. And when we keep zooming, come back, can't even keep up with the dots. We're gonna zoom one more time. Come back, map. There we go. We'll look at the water too. See right here? This is where Google is. This is right here is where Apple is. This is where Berkeley University is. This is where Stanford is, right? This whole area is where all of these big tech companies are coming from. And if you look, go back 20 years to those student or those schools that were teaching design thinking in kind of the early days, now they're kind of seeing the win by how many students are starting companies. And so while we might not all be entrepreneurs, it's important to see how we can kind of still tie into this design thinking aspect to be able to use it for our future benefit when we're doing future projects, okay? So that's kind of the last slide that we're going to dig through in this one because we're pretty much out of time. But that's really what I wanted to leave you with is design thinking is global. And so if you really want to get kind of a head start on rocking internationally, globally with how you think, remember, if it takes 20 years to master doing this with ideas and we start with it now, by the time you graduate university, you're gonna be a pro. So what I want to do now is open up the floor to any students or parents that have any questions. I'm going to flip back so that we end up on the course structure slide, that one with all the dots that kind of showed what we're going to be talking about. And I want to invite you to open up your microphones and your screens and raise your hand if you have a question. Okay? And Scott and Ming will kind of help me out with answering them.
Okay, so if you have any questions, you can just type it in the chat window and we can get Sam to answer and can help you with. So I think today is really like a very short time, but Sam managed to put in those so much information into that 20 minutes. So this is just really basically design thinking in a nutshell, right? It's just the basic. It's about what are the elements and how it can be applied and whether things can use. And I hope the example Sam actually showing the video and trigger some thoughts. So you can think about, so that's somehow we can look at things differently. And because of our age, because of our experience, we can look at different problems, right? So I think that's a great example. And hopefully we will have an opportunity to work together to come up with solutions to some of those problems, right? Okay, thank you. And okay, Katie got a question. How long is the course? The course is actually 4 weeks and totally 8 sessions. So each session have one central theme, and it will start from August 10th all the way to September the 30th, if I remember correctly. Yes, that's the 4 weeks. Yeah. So in that 4 weeks, let me just flash this so that you can have an idea. Okay. So these are the 8 modules you can see on my screen. So these are the 8 modules we're talking about. The first one is the superhero challenge. Go ahead, you have a question? Go ahead. Okay, so yeah, from the person to everyone. Yeah, that's right. In the video, a car could bump into him. Start.
How are you? Yeah, good. Very nice to cool down the weather.
Okay, so
to cool down. Otherwise, we are a little bit too hot the last couple of days. Yeah, now it's good. Now it's perfect. Hey, I heard when the kids get a problem on the hang, knock it down.
Okay, so that's, yeah, so since we have so many people here, so if you have a question, just leave it in the chat window, okay? So just back to the course, it has 8 modules. So I'm showing them on the screen. Of course, it's Chinese right now. So we start with the identifying problem, the design thinking, introduction, and then what's the empathy and how to prototyping your idea, how to create a appealing storytelling to present your idea. Okay, and then we also have the final project. So we give students, everyone an opportunity to show your presentation, to show your design. Can be one of the product, can be a business solution, anything is possible. So that's what will be the last one. So you will have the opportunity to develop your presentation skill and public speaking skills as well. Okay, so the program starts on the 10th in August. So it will start every Monday and Thursday between 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. So that's the program. Okay. Okay, do you have any other questions? So if any students have any questions about the design thinking, have you heard about design thinking, by the way? So I see one of the students says, even though you're not in Toronto or the US, but you actually started learning design thinking last year. That's really good. That's great. That's good for you. Yeah. Yes, this program will be delivered through this Zoom. So we will set up the Zoom meeting for the 4 weeks. So if you want to have more information, you can actually go to scan this QR code using your WeChat, and you can go in there and we can give you all the detailed information about the price and the detailed times and all the setups. Yeah. Good. So the program is designed for grade 6 to 9. So of course, it's a little bit range. Of course, when we have the final program itself, so we'll group students by the age when we ask them to do designs and projects. So don't worry about that. Okay. So any other questions if you have? So you can, of course, you can just go to the WeChat. 对于家长来说，您可以扫描这个2维码，那加入到我们的微信群。如果有任何问题呢，我们都会在那边向您提供帮助。Okay. So yeah, if you have no other questions, I encourage everyone, no matter you are joining our program or not, go online, Google search design thinking, and I'm sure there's a lot of materials there. And this is really great tool, not just like Sam mentioned, it's not just about solving a problem, but also about coming from different perspective, be creative, look at things differently, solving problems in different ways. So this is about how we should be facing our ever-changing world. The world is changing rapidly nowadays, right? Okay, so if you have no more questions, everyone, I want everybody to say thank you to Sam. So hi, Sam. So thank you so much for your effort and for the introduction. And everyone else, yeah, if you have any questions.
Very much, Sam. Thank you. It's very neat.
Thank you, Sam.
Glad you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, everyone, have a great night. Enjoying the weekend.
Thanks for your time, guys.
Good night. Oh, by the way, do you have an email?
Sorry, you mean Sam's email or?
Yeah, because I have problem scanning the picture, so I could get an email.
Let me just leave the email in the chat window so you can. Okay. Okay, so that's the email address. If you have problem with the WeChat or if you prefer email, you can always send us questions or comments to this email address, info@upswingacademy.ca.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Aris. Have a great night.
Good night.